happy Wednesday as we're going through the book of Luke. And we are in chapter 5 this morning, and we are in 38 to 44, and I'm actually going to read it. Jesus left the synagogue and went to the home of Simon. Now Simon's mother-in-law was suffering from a high fever, and they asked Jesus to help her. So he bent over and rebuked the fever, and it left her. She got up at once and began to wait on them. At sunset, the people brought to Jesus all who had various kinds of sickness, and laying his hands on each one, he healed them. Moreover, demons came out of many, shouting, "You are the Son of God." But he rebuked them and would not allow them to speak, because they knew he was the Messiah. At daybreak, Jesus went out into a solitary place. The people were looking for him, and when they came to where he was, they tried to keep him from leaving them. But he said, "I must proclaim the good news of the kingdom of God to the other towns also, because that is why I was sent." And he kept on preaching in the synagogues of Judea. Okay, so let's look at a couple things. First of all, Jesus didn't come to propel his popularity, right? Again, we see here that he showed compassion to those who were hurting. And he showed compassion right here to what they would see as the bottom of society, right? Right away, he is healing. He has compassion on this mother-in-law who was sick, Simon's mother-in-law. And so here's a woman, right? And in that culture, her status was super low. And of course, we see demon-possessed people weren't super popular either, right? Jesus had compassion for those that were outcasts. And one thing that I love to see about this is Jesus, it says, and he laid hands on each one. Jesus was personal. Jesus touched them. He wasn't just a distant healer. It was just like, be healed. I mean, sometimes he did that, but he touched them. And I think how important that was, especially if you were sick and if you were ostracized, right? To be touched by someone and to show that someone is having compassion on you. That would be so amazing for them. The other thing that I want us to look at is I want us to talk a little bit about the phrase in verse 43. It says, "I'm here to proclaim the good news of the kingdom of God." So already there are people that are starting there that are against Jesus' teaching. There's already a camp of division, right? So we saw that earlier in the book, where we saw that the Jewish people weren't very happy that he's talking about Gentiles, that he's here for the non-Jews. So we're going to start seeing people really angry about that. And the other thing here is this phrase, kingdom of God, is starting to get, it's not going to be very popular. It's not going to make Jesus very popular. Because I want you to think about for a moment, it's easy to look at the Jews and see, how could they have rejected Jesus? I wouldn't have rejected Jesus if I was there, right? But I want you to think about the Jewish people for a moment. They had it very difficult. They had different kingdoms again that were ruling over them, and they were they were oppressed. And so they wanted a Messiah basically that would make life easier for them, because their life was difficult. They wanted a Messiah who would come and do the kingdom of God here and overthrow the Romans and make a new Jerusalem and create peace and maybe tax-free, right? They wanted comfort. They wanted ease. And so it's easy to look down on them. But I want you to think about this for a moment. What about us? What about us, Western middle-class Christians? What are our prayers about? Lots of times about health and wealth, right? Isn't our prayers a lot because of our comfort as well? We want life to be comfortable. And I want to tell you right now that the kingdom of God isn't the American dream either. It wasn't taking the Romans out of the picture, and it isn't the American dream about having nice things and being able to go to Europe for vacation, right? That's not what the kingdom of God is. So if you're convicted, I'm convicted as well, because I know lots of times my prayers about kind of like make my life easier, God, right? Give me a better job so I can have more money, so I can do more fun things, right? But the kingdom of God is about conquering sin. It's about so that we could be made right with God, and so that we in turn can tell other people. That's where our focus should be. Not on things, not on materialism, not on status, but who are you reaching? What is your life? Is it just about yourself? Or who are the others in your life that are you reaching, that you are being stretched, that you are giving sacrificially for, so that they, of your time, not just your finances maybe, so that they could know Jesus, so that they could know God and be reconciled to Him. So I want to leave you with that. That's challenging. To me, when I read this, it was like, ouch! Right? It's so easy to judge the Jews and think, what? They missed it. But do we as Western Christians miss it as well? Think about that for a moment and go deeper and ask God that. I want to challenge you this morning. Have a good day. See you tomorrow.